Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. I made a video earlier this morning regarding Nick Viall and his response to Tayshia walking off the set of the Men Tell All episode this past Monday. And it was actually pretty interesting because Nick, of course, been a lead on the show. He's been a contestant on the show. He's been involved with the show for a long time. So he knows what goes into these episodes, and he knows kind of the tightly run ship that exists. So for him to think that it was an act, that holds some weight. Absolutely. My thought is that it wasn't an act that she walked off because they didn't properly have the camera angles. For instance, and I'm going to play some of your one of your voicemails in a second, but when they had the streaker or when they had the girl who kissed Connor, they were mic'd up, they had the cameras ready to go, they had all that. When Tayshia walked off, she wasn't really on camera. The camera caught her a little bit, but it wasn't super produced. Now, it doesn't mean that a producer wasn't in her ear, which is what this caller says. And, moving into 2022, one of my resolutions is to develop even more of a connection with you guys. That means I want the phone line to be open for all videos. If you have an opinion on something I say or do or any other news within Bachelor Nation or life in general, feel free to call in 401-213-9828. That voicemail line is always open. You can call in. I'm not always going to answer it or play it on air, but if you have something to say, I'd love to hear about it. All right, let's get into this caller's voicemail from the beautiful city of Charleston, South Carolina, which is the sister city to my hometown of Newport, Rhode Island. Very nice town.
Hi, Dave. This is Annabelle calling from Charleston, South Carolina, and I actually was listening to you while I was making some lunch, and I completely agree that Tayshia walking off didn't feel very staged to me. Whenever I first saw that, I just imagined the producer being in her ear. So maybe a producer was around and started seeing like, oh, she's getting a little bit choked up. And so they just started telling her, hey, if you need to walk off the stage, go ahead and do that right now. And so she just listened and then walked off the stage, which in turn would be technically the more professional to do than to break down on stage. But that's just my opinion.
Well, thank you so much for the call. I do appreciate that viewpoint. Now, I've got an in-ear monitor here, okay? It's obviously just a headphone. They're not always that discreet, but a lot of times a host will have one of these, a lot of times a lot smaller, and it'll be connected to whoever the director is or whoever the producer is that talks to them, wrap up this part, go to break. There's somebody communicating with them so they're not just flying blind out there doing 20-minute interviews. There's someone in their ear communicating. Now, whether or not the producer told her to walk off, that's interesting because at the point of which she did walk off, Rodney was talking. The camera itself wasn't really on her. We may never know this. I think she just knew she was about to break down. We all cry differently, right? My fiance always say, I can tell she's about to cry like the Richter. You know, an earthquake, you get like a notice 5 seconds. Maybe you don't know this, but in California, you get like a text message sometimes if an earthquake's coming. They can predict an earthquake like 5 seconds beforehand. No longer, no shorter. All of a sudden, it's like, there's an earthquake coming. I didn't feel that, And I feel the same way with my fiance, with Tasha, when it comes to looking at her being like, are you about to cry? She'll be like, no. And then it just kind of surfaces. And the more you tell yourself not to do something, the harder it is to do, like telling yourself not to laugh. And of course, if you're having a fun moment, that repressed feeling is going to lead you to just burst out laughing. And she's trying to hold it all together. And at one point, she's just like, I can't hold this together. I'm literally trying to interview this guy, Rodney, and I'm about to blow my top here. And that's fair, too. That's absolutely fair. I'll read a few of your comments and we'll get out of here. But I do appreciate that viewpoint that maybe the producers put her up to this. I think that she knew Caitlin was going to ask her the question, and, maybe a few hours before when they did their production meeting, she was like, yeah, just ask me the question, I'll say my statement, and we'll be done. And then when she actually had to say it, you ever have to share an emotion you didn't think you would get emotional over, and then you do? When I was making my videos about the Toys for Tots toy drive, I was literally on the verge of tears every single time because just thinking of underprivileged kids not being able to receive gifts is such a tragedy in our country that people live with despair that they can't open a present on Christmas morning. And that was literally, there's so much subtext to just saying something like promoting a toy drive that it was bringing me to tears. And I think we all have those instances. I don't think Tayshia realized how emotional she would get. So some of your comments. Angel says, Tayshia had said on a podcast recently that the day they filmed the Men Tell All was the day the news broke about her breakup, so emotions were high. You could tell she was nervous from the moment that the tell-all started. She was definitely not herself. The breakup was fresh. So it seems like most of the ladies in the comment section here are giving Tayshia the benefit of the doubt that the feelings were fresh. Kristen says, I think they set up Tayshia to get upset. They're always looking for material, and they value that more than Tayshia's feelings. They cut Chris Harrison after all that he's done, so it shows that there's not a lot of loyalty there. Oh, that got 23 thumbs up. And then Kristen says, I doubt that's how Tayshia wanted to address the breakup, but she was backed into a corner. I also think that, Tayshia and Caitlyn, this is why you need to be like pro-union, I believe, is because, for instance, like I'm about to say, Tayshia and Caitlyn have no job security. They were freelance contractors, not even labeled hosts. They didn't even give them the host label. That's kind of what they let us call them. They were never labeled that. They were guests. They were whatever. And this was their last episode, or one of their last episodes under their contract. They're just there for the season. What will happen next if Tayshia decides, hey, don't ask me this question. I'm not talking about it on air. The producers could go, well, that just might not bode well for you when it comes time to looking at who we're going to want to host Bachelor in Paradise next year or Bachelorette next year. We know Jesse Palmer is the host of The Bachelor coming up, but as Nick said, they're not really committing to him long-term either, because why commit long-term? See if it works out and then go from there. And I think they're doing the same thing with Tayshia and Caitlyn. Play by our rules and we'll let you continue to be a part of the franchise. We all know if you don't play by the rules of that the Bachelor producers look for, like Ryan in my last video with his neurodiversity and talking about the fact he likes to journal and that they made him out to be a villain and they didn't air his apology. Kind of going against that grain, they're going to we're not going to bring you back to Bachelor in Paradise. It's almost like, let us make you a villain and we'll get you on the next show and then we'll try to redeem you. Which it's like, does anyone really want to put that sort of control into the hands of people that clearly don't have your best interest? But some people, of course, agreed with Nick. Kathy said, I thought right off the bat that the walk-off was totally staged. The question about a relationship on a show that isn't about her stuck out like a sore thumb. Stardust said the only thing about the race was Nick. You've had to work nonstop, putting out multiple videos a day. I don't watch him, but I'm pretty sure he has a lot more free time. Oh, that's because I was talking about my sort of fake race to pass Nick, which, by the way, we just got to 48,600, so we're only 500 away now. We're at 48,600, so we're on your heels, Nick. No, that whole race was just a joke. Obviously, Nick's got a ton going on. To say that I'm busy too, but to say he doesn't have a lot going on, I mean, he just hosted the red carpet of the People's Choice Awards. He's obviously trying to do things that are outside the Bachelor world, which I will have a separate video on. He just was on Jason Tartick's podcast, which is called, what's it called? The Restart? Whatever it's called. Starting Bell, whatever the hell it's called. I do like the podcast. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Talking about wanting to transition into non-Bachelor content, because of course, like a fear we all have. If Bachelor goes away, what do I do? Which is why I'm trying to get people to go onto my vlog channel, Dave Neal Vlogs, and go check that out. But very interesting to get your comments, your voicemails. I always appreciate them. Oftentimes people think that I'm only playing voicemails of people that agree with me. That is not the case at all. I actually prefer voicemails of people that disagree with me or want to slam me. If there's anything you don't like that I'm doing, if there's anything you completely disagree about with regards to any of my content, leave a voicemail, 401-213-9828. And I'll say this. Nothing annoys me more than when people comment. I keep leaving comments, but you keep deleting them. I'm unsubscribing. Let me just say this loud and clear. Unless you post a comment that's racist, hateful, homophobic, something very, very offensive to other people in the comment community, or never argue, never fight with someone else in the comment section. I value civility in the comment section. You can get your point across without going low, is my point. Unless you're doing anything like that, I don't delete your dang comments. You don't think I have enough things to do on my platform than worry about your comments? So come on, get out of here. There's nothing that annoys me more than when people think I'm deleting their comments. Sometimes YouTube is glitchy. Sometimes you try to make a few different posts and it will only let you comment so much and it'll send it to spam or whatever. That happens. But by all means, you really think I care so much that I'm going to delete what you have to say? Leave a comment or call the voicemail line. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye, everybody.